Hello, my name is Lauren Maxwell, and I'm going to share my instructional design plan with you. The learner context. They are third grade students at Lombardi Elementary, located in Wilmington, Delaware. It is an inclusion classroom that has 17 students, 4 of which have individualized education plans. So they might require modifications or accommodations to the assignments based off of the content. And there's also a full-time paraprofessional that works in there with one of the students as well. The needs. The first 3 needs that were identified of greatest importance were students do not understand number patterns and correlations between the numbers. This was a normative need. The second one, students are not fluent in their multiplication and division facts compared to the national average, a comparative need. And last, students scored below the state average in math proficiency, which was again a normative need. So based off of that information, the goal that I created was students will be able to accurately identify patterns and relationships between multiplication and division facts. So here is my instructional analysis goal sheet. So at the very top is my instructional goal, which it says students will demonstrate an understanding of the relationship between multiplication and division, and will show that in a variety of strategies to accurately solve equations. So now in order to do that, the 3 objectives that they are going to be meeting is firstly, students will practice skip counting as a strategy to solve multiplication and division equations. And in order to do those skills, they will need to first be working with a number chart, using that to count predetermined amounts based off of the equations given. Then the next lesson they will go through is having them identify the size of the group and number of groups to determine the skip counting. And then towards the end, they'll be able to meet that final lesson for that actual plan. The second one, students will use arrays to demonstrate multiplication and division equations. So this is just another way that they will show they can accurately solve multiplication and division, this time using arrays instead of skip counting. So very first thing they're going to be able to do, determine the value of a given array and relate it to a multiplication or division equation. Also match equal groups to corresponding multiplication or division equations. And the very first skill that they'll start off with in order to reach this objective at the end would be to identify a column and a row on an actual array. The final objective that the students will be able to meet in order to meet that instructional goal is they will be able to separate objects into groups. And then for the next lesson, they'll be able to correlate repeat addition or subtraction to matching multiplication or division equations. So they'll be given different types of equations, both addition and subtraction, and then they will have to actually match it to the multiplication or division equation that it's showing. Based off of the needs assessment, the students, when they enter into 3rd grade at this point in the year, they should have the following entry skills. So being able to use a number chart accurately to add and subtract, create equal groups from number amounts, identify simple digits, numbers, and their value. Also being able to identify the size of a group and the number of groups from a problem. So being able to pull that information out and identify which is which in order to help them solve later. Also being able to just add and subtract different digits. The lesson objectives, there were 4 of them. The first one is students will be able to use skip counting as a strategy to solve multiplication and division equations. The second one, students will be able to demonstrate multiplication and division equations using an array. Third, students will be able to solve multiplication and division equations using repeated addition and subtraction to solve. And finally, the last objective, students will be able to choose the most efficient strategy to solve a multiplication or division problem. So the learning is scaffolded. The very first objective, they're learning one type of way to solve, and then the second and the third, and then finally when it comes to the 4th lesson objective, the students would actually be able to decide which type was the most efficient strategy that they would like to use and how to solve correctly. Some assessments that will be happening in my instructional learning plan. There is a pre-assessment just to kind of determine what level and what concepts students currently understand. Then there are quizzes for each module. There are 4 different modules, module A, B, C, and D. There are quizzes that actually follow each one of those modules. And then after module A and B, there is a mid-module assessment. And following all 4 of the modules at the end, there is an end-of-module assessment that will act as a summative assessment telling what the students are able to do now that they've completed all the instruction. Some instructional materials that students will need while completing this, their Module 3 workbook that correlates with each lesson, their Chromebook so that they can participate in different online learning platforms and small group learning assignments, their array worksheets, number charts, individual whiteboards so that they are able to participate in questions and also able to just participate in quick formative checks throughout the lesson. That way I know whether or not someone is understanding a concept that's being taught. Number tiles, headphones so that they can also listen to the online learning programs and participate. The pre-assessment, and then finally the end of module assessment will be necessary. Thank you very much, and I hope that you enjoyed my instructional design learning plan on multiplication and division for 3rd grade. Thank you.